everyone, my name is Uthris and welcome to Workers and Resources, Soviet Republic. We are testing out a new game today. We did a couple test streams of it recently. I very much enjoyed my hands-on crash course experience with this game. It is an early access and it is fairly well priced for sure and very content rich for a city builder. So this is episode 1. I don't know a whole lot about this game. So in the background, we're doing just a standard kind of speed build process. And we're going to be starting out here in a workshop map. In fact, the whole mod list of this series is going to be linked in the description of these videos down below. So if you want to see what mods we are using, definitely check that out. And we're going to be starting with an oil processing and refinery operation to try and get some cash flow. That's right, I'm not starting with a town, which is a little bit weird, but I wanted to get this kind of designed out as best as possible. And by best as possible, I mean no clue what I'm doing, right? So unlike other city builder games, things like SimCity or City Skylines, Soviet Republic, you know, it gets into a little bit more of the nitty-gritty of city management, processing and moving resources around. And it's very accurate in how it does so. So for example, what we have here is an initial oil well and then a few storage tanks for oil that I'm trying to set up. Now, oil tanks, they can only store or actually any sort of liquid storage tank can only store one type of liquid, which makes sense, right? So we're gonna have two. They're gonna flow into each other initially. So they're almost daisy chained over, and then they're going to flow into the actual oil processing. So we're getting raw oil, and then we're going to be processing it into its two components, which would be fuel and essentially an oil byproduct, okay? And we're going to want to take these resources and eventually sell them at the border. Now with this game, you have two options when you are selling things. You can sell them to the Soviet kind of side, your fellow comrades, and get rubles out of that. Or you can sell it to the West and get some good old Ben Franklins for those transactions. So you can have two currencies and trade and do pretty much anything with a single currency, or use a combination of the two. I like using a combination of the two since you do start out with a decent amount of money in both. I am playing on easy, so for those of you who are very familiar with this game, don't be too hard on me. I know I'm sure I'm going to get comments filled how wrong I am designing everything, but we are in pause and I'm trying to get a decent layout here. We are setting pathworks around and crossings next to the roads, and a lot of these structures you need to have road and or pathwork for foot traffic to get to them so that your workers can navigate to them quickly and efficiently, because if you don't have footpaths, they only walk along the roadways and they might have to wait until a road junction to cross the street. They can't just jaywalk. That would be extremely illegal in my democratic republic. And so, you know, pathways, how you can get, you know, crosswalks and things like that so that they can kind of navigate a little bit quicker. Also, the different types of roads have different speed limits. So asphalt roads, you know, in pathways, fastest movement speed, whether that's vehicle or walking. Gravel, a little less so, and then dirt, the slowest movement speed there. So just things to consider as you are laying this sort of stuff out. So we have two storage tanks there on the right. Those, you know, are going across the road there and getting daisy chained into the components there. Now I did do this road connection with a pipe going over it because I thought it looked cooler. I could have, in theory, just simply done a complete underground tunnel, right? So I am going to be building for some aesthetic, but also I'm going to be building for some functionality. At the end of the day, we do want to be able to turn a profit. I'm not playing on complete creative mode, though in hindsight, I probably should be, because I have no clue There's so much nuance with this game, and as we get going here, you'll definitely see that. Though there are some frustrating things as well, and I think that has to do with some UI decisions and just general tools that we have to work with. And especially since I'm sure everyone who has played this game really enjoys City Skylines, and like the movement mod and those mod tools there, that they're very much flexible at this point and very user friendly. This game is not quite there to that level yet. So for example, you'll see me do a lot of the turns and curves. I'll establish the straights first and then connect them after the fact, because the native kind of curve functions of these splines are very simplistic. You know, it's going to try for a 90-degree turn. It's not going to try for a nice wide gentle curve. So, you know, you have to fiddle with it a little bit, and it can be a little frustrating at times, especially when you're working with the terrain height, as we are here. So, you know, I am making a rail connection to the border, and this is going to go to the Soviet side. And I noticed my rails aren't quite the same height here, so we're going to have to pump up the terrain a little bit, do some landscaping, right? It's a really good idea to use the grid lines as much as possible to make things line up. And then also the terrain grid lines, the height markers, to make sure everything's on the same level. Now, we've lucked out, since this is a modded map. I'm sure the resources are a little bit more forgiving, but there's a very large oil field up here on this raised plateau. So that's why we're gonna have all of our oil drills up here in the refinery place, because, you know, thinking that we want to refine as close as possible to the place that we drill, because, well, you know, less transportation costs, essentially. Hindsight, I'm kind of thinking that I kind of sacrificed a potential oil drill or two in terms of production to have this up here so close. But, you know, I think it's worth it. I think this does turn out to be a pretty cool build in general, especially since we have a little railway loop, a little bit of a bridge over a small valley, and then we just kind of follow the contours of that hillside as much as possible going around through there, right? You know? Now, the train system, they have the standard signals, so everyone's used to that. I'm noticing here that, hey, my bridge is a little low. I can't get a road underneath of it. I was hoping I could. And this is a real big frustration to me, is the train tools are pretty weak. I'm going to be honest. They're pretty weak, especially with the ability to edit the terrain around already placed structures. I'm very much used to being able to just kind of throw down something and then adjust it afterwards with City Skylines. And so this is kind of new to me here. So even though we did edit the terrain a little bit, you can see the bridge, putting that back is a little bit of a problem. I have to come in here, it's a little bit of a slant, and then also this road is a little undulating, right? It's not super smooth. You know, that's something we're just gonna get better at, in identifying those type of problems sooner in the construction process, so that I don't have to waste money building a bridge and then deconstructing that bridge, right? So that's on me, you know, and everything we're going to learn so much about this game, guys, from water management, water treatment, to construction and other industries, keeping your people happy. There's weather systems coming through, and you have to manage temperature. So yeah, it's just a huge, very in-depth game at this stage, and I just can't stop playing it. Like I love just booting it up after work and continuing on here. We're gonna add a little bit of a refueling station for our trains. We will be buying fuel because I want to export everything as it's processed, just to get some money. So I can import some of that. It'll make it a little bit easier. Now we will fuel this place up from the refinery because it's close enough, but other places, things for like cars and buses, we will be kind of fueling out of pocket. It's just going to be a little bit easier. I don't want to pipe and cause a lot of traffic with a bunch of road vehicles that don't really want to use much of anyways. So yeah, we're going to get a nice little road overpass there. and then another little storage silo for our exports. So there's a couple things, and I actually set this up wrong. I'm sure some of you have noticed already that I'm coming out of the refinery through the double storage and then directly into the train loading area. You can't do that, you know, like I said earlier. Found this out a little bit after the speed build is that I can't pass both of those materials through those two areas. So we do have to rework that piping a little bit. I do want to add footpaths everywhere, not only because it does serve a little bit of a function, but it just makes the area look a little bit more clean and nice, which I'm always happy to see in my builds. And yeah, so this is kind of how that's coming together right now. We will have to ship workers up here. That's why we have a bus stop kind of in the middle of that area. You don't need bus stops to drop people off. You can actually bus route them directly to the work location. I didn't know that at this time of the build process, but that is something you can do. Down here by the road, you can see I'm actually doing a little bit of a highway system, single lanes going left and right here, and another bus stop. And I'm thinking about water treatment up here also, because we are higher up on the hillside. We can feed water easily downwards. Okay, so one of the water mechanics in this game is water flows downhill. Surprise, surprise! It actually helps with water pressure. You need less pumps to keep and maintain water pressure if you have water towers, which does you need to pump it up into the tower. But once it's in there, it's actually gravity fed throughout the pipes. Having it higher than my town, even more so, it's definitely going to help out. Having a train here, it's 10 cars long. It's going to do a simple looping route. If you're used to Transport Fever or Transport Tycoon, this is going to feel very familiar to you. You get your standard signals, your mixed signals, and chain signals. I'm not going to try and explain how those work because, let's be honest, I just kind of wing it and hope it works long term. And we're going to be trying to load as much as possible. So our production areas that are producing oil, we don't need workers for. So at the moment, I'm just loading that train up with raw, unprocessed oil, which is fine. Also, I guess with the latest update, they added the option to add signals at specific crossings. So this is me just kind of looking at that UI. The UI is it's a little rough around the edges. You'll get there. There's not very many tooltips as to what everything does. That's probably one of the weakest things about the game in its current state, is just the lack of tooltips, because coming in as a new player, you know, I really don't want to have to watch YouTube videos to understand how to play the game, but they are helpful for sure. We're gonna have a gas-powered power plant. Since we have an oil refinery and we have a train, we're gonna take that product down here to a train station and dump all that out. Okay. Now we're gonna hook this line up initially here to the main line, such as this. Now, I don't think this was a good spot, so we're gonna end up moving it. Not only does it not work great, it's a little bit of a busy rail system there. But there's not a lot of length coming off the main line into this actual kind of depot area, right? So whenever you have junctions on and off your main line, you want to have at least a train length or two worth, ideally, of space so that trains can come off completely and not get stuck in the crossings. So we're going to end up rotating that for sure. So here, thinking about pipings and how things get input into the oil power plant. So here's us kind of putting down something a little bit more unique. Now, I was told that I need a pumping platform of some kind to offload material. That could be wrong. You know, hey, if my community led me the wrong way, you guys in the chat can let me know. But that's what I was told when I streamed this, that having pumping or transition things to come out of storage is how you unload. So that is why we will try and have some of those connections, and you guys are free to correct as needed. So we're gonna have a little loop here also, just a nice quick turnaround. This is another thing that's really good to make sure your trains aren't taking up both sides and can actually come off the line completely, so that it's again not going back towards the main line. Now we're just gonna have one train feeding this power station. It may need more long term, may not need more long term. I really do not know if that's gonna be the case, but I'm sure we will find out at some point whether or not we need to make changes to this design. It's a pretty rough design. And throwing people at it is going to be the real test of how successful this thing is. I am trying to do piping above ground for the most part at this area because it just makes it look a little bit more industrial. And while it is a little bit more of a headache to kind of work with at times, you know, we do have some downloaded assets for road crossings, for not only pipes, but other resources and conveyors, you know, because those aren't really in the native game. So the Steam Workshop is pretty strong with these type of purchases, so keep that in mind. We also do want to hook up the grid to the border, which we do, which means we can actually import power into the grid. And this is something really cool that I'm just, you know, we're figuring this out as we go. There's different sizes to the power grid. There's large grid power, medium grid, and I think it's just large and medium grid for power at the moment. I'm kind of thinking, I think so. And so everything essentially runs off of medium grid power, except for the power plant, which just exports large grid power. So you need transformers to change that. And also, depending on the size and pole type you are using, that power is going to have a different carry capacity of electricity, right? So if you're in a low power need and you want to save some money, go with a cheaper power line, because you know you don't need all that wattage going out there. If you are trying to power up a city, you might want to take it in, bring in some high power, transition it to medium, and then use you know, lines depending on that, you know, as needed. I am moving the bus station across the interstate because I just don't want our people to walk across the double lane road there. I am using 2 single one-ways for traffic flow. This is near the border, and also there's going to be a town nearby eventually in our first industry. I don't know at this stage how traffic is going to play out here, and sadly there's not like an avenue. I can't just do like a bigger street with 4 lanes, right, with 2 lanes going each way. I have to do this highway system. I know it's not the most pretty thing in the world, and might give off a little bit more of a highway feel than something else, but for traffic reasons it makes sense, right? There's a passing lane and a potential turning lane to work off of, and then also, you know, the passing isn't going to interfere with the opposite direction of traffic, right? If we have a lot of people going both directions, your just option for passing is much smaller. So that's kind of why we're doing this. You know, the road is so wobbly. I really like the feature in this game that when you lay down a road or something and it kind of, it's like, okay, well, we can kind of place this here, but it's not quite, you know, smooth enough. It's a little too steep. Hold right mouse button and smooth it out. I kind of wish that was always enabled, right? Like always, you can just hold right mouse button and it will smooth out based on the spline drawn. I think that would be a really nice feature and something to really assist with builders, but yeah, we'll see. So this, I haven't messed with sewage at all in the game at this stage. So really, I don't know I don't know if this stuff is required. I just figured I would like a water treatment plant up here near the water pump, and because it just from a logistical sense and narrative standpoint, it kind of makes sense to have that a little bit away from town, not quite in the oil field, obviously, but so that we can kind of get stuff flowing away from the town to get the pollution down and the quality of the water maybe a little bit higher, since the pump is away from the town, and it is far enough away from the oil drills as well. I think we max out at like 10% quality loss due to ground pollution, which is not that bad. We will have kind of a water quality building nearby that will be pumping the water through to kind of clean it before hitting the consumption pipes. So we're going to be storing kind of 90% quality water, throwing that through a water treatment plant to kind of clean it up, and then it'll be on its way. Here's some of the power stations. So you had to put these power relays that connect up with medium power, and that provides your localized power grid in an AoE in a certain range, right? We're going to have 2 water towers here. This is not the final spot for them, because at this point I haven't found the water treatment building, but I do like to daisy chain them together, storage, daisy chaining them together, I feel like to almost always be the best solution. I waste a lot of money by building things and then deleting them, so that's not great. It doesn't help our funds at all by doing that, but it's just at this stage of the game, that's kind of like how I did things. I think I'm a little bit better after an episode or so in, but yeah, that's we'll see. We'll see how that works out. So some water towers get placed down here. Again, daisy chain them together. And there's the water treatment plant. There's inlets and outlets on all of these structures. So orientating them correctly is ideal so that they can actually produce the right direction. You don't want to, intake in your outtake and outtake in your intake. That makes no sense and will bog down your piping needs for sure. We will have to run power along the kind of roadway up to here so that these pumps can turn on. Right now, they don't have a power supply or any sort of way to pump into these towers. So that's the building's going to complain about that initially for sure. Now, something about piping is you can kind of change the height underground. It's a little bit hard to tell. I kind of wish there was a option, and there could be an option, maybe I'm just missing it, a way to see how far down it is underneath the surface at all times. Yeah, in the UI there, you could see that, we have to measure the bar, the water pressure, what the water quality is across all of its outlets, what the pressure is across all of its outlets, supply water locally for some of these areas for workers, right? Because if there's drinking water for businesses and stuff. We're going to use a big pumping station directly out this way. I think that'll scale a little bit better. We'll just use all 3 inputs and then start with a single output with the largest pump pipe size, right? And different pipe sizes does move different amount of water, just like with the power supply. There's kind of small, medium, large for those. So again, you kind of change that as needed. So we'll even water up the oil processing plant. So that's it for today's speed build. It's a little bit jarring, a little bit quick, I know. Let's go into real time and we can talk about the game more. All right, so I hope you all enjoyed the speed build portion of today's video. I've been letting the game run for a little while, and hopefully we'll go over everything real quick and do some real-time building also. So this is our oil rig compound and also our oil processing plant. At least this one, our initial one here for today. I'm starting to work on some detailing around the compound. I got rid of the double kind of road in because I don't feel like traffic's going to be that big of a problem coming in here. It's just really going to be bus traffic coming in, and we're going to be working on some walls and fencing to just pretty up the area a little bit, make it feel a little bit more secure. These type of facilities, in my opinion, should be kind of walled off, away from the public, away from prying eyes. You know, you don't want people to be walking around in here all willy-nilly and free to do so. Same thing with your water treatment plant. This is something that you definitely don't want people to just waltz into for public health reasons. I did expand our oil well rigging out here, and I really like the fact that we're using kind of mud roads for this stuff out here. I'm thinking I'm going to try and keep up that motif. In fact, I might end up replacing a lot of roads around factories with dirt roads, just in areas that, you know, it's going to get less actual traffic and will make it look a little bit more industrial. So I've been letting it run a little bit. You can see we are turning a profit. Last month, turned a profit of $25,000 due to us selling all the oil. We have 2 trains currently. We have 1 train supplying oil to the oil power plant and 1 going down and selling the oil. Now, once we get workers out here and populating this, you know, the train will be picking up more things than the raw oil itself. The power plant, a lot of detailing need to be done around here. We'll have to add a fence also and some security checkpoints here as well, because this would be another area that you'd want to have a little bit more security. We got a little bit of a major roadway out this way. Now, I'm gonna say, I wish there was a wider kind of 2-way road so that I wouldn't have to use parallel roads like this. I think that would look a little bit more nice, because, you know, having parallel, just 2 lanes just looks a little weird. But oh well, that's just the way it is. Let's go ahead and do some fence work. Now, around the main facility, I'm thinking about doing the fence that is a little bit more secure, this Mar fence, and going from there. Now, I'm also going to have to reroute some power lines a little bit because of the way they ended up going. Okay, there we go. I just want to make sure that we get enough clearance here for the fence to fit on this side of the loading zone. So we'll go ahead and unpause this. And we'll go back to our fence decorations. Now, I did, I kind of went overboard and maybe downloaded a little too many decorative assets. We'll probably run into more of these, I'm sure, as we get going into the more decorative areas and plazas and road signs, signals, you know, things like that. So look forward to those mods. Fence. That's what I was looking for. Alright. A lot of the times, like I said, this is the best way to kind of curve a road or item is to actually start the 2 segments and then come back and join them with a single spline. That way you get something a little bit more smooth and a little bit cleaner looking. Alright, so we'll go this way, and then I'm gonna stay on the outside here. I'm hoping we can get close enough to the rails. Alright, we can. Good. Pop that. And that even applies to large curves, right? So what I can do is hopefully few of these pieces in, and then, you know, do something like this and that to make a little bit more of a gentle transition. Now this is gonna be tougher. It looks like I can actually clip this through the pipe. It doesn't really like it that much, but we can do it. And what I would hope to see eventually is a little bit of a gate option. I think I downloaded one in the workshop somewhere, a little decorative gate, so I don't have to always leave a gap, and I might be able to put something in between, which should look nice. I really would like to see a no collision fence that I could also stack up a little bit, so I can get some more exact placement of things on where I want them. So this fence here is going along the pipe. And then we're gonna go this way. About there. We're gonna delete this section to get a curve. Beautiful. And then I wonder if I can get... Okay, I think that's fine. That's pretty close. All right, so that kind of protects the refueling point of the trains, the train itself, around most of the major areas. We're also gonna grab a fence line. Let's do this around the water treatment zone real quick too. Alright, so that structure is in the way. I'm gonna have to probably cross the road to this side. So we'll do something like that. Get a curve. Curve it here. And then get as small a segment as possible. Hopefully here and here. To get another curve going. Why don't you like this game? I guess it's too close to the power pole. Alright, that's fine. We'll spread that out a little bit. Maybe to here. Doesn't like that either. Alright, in a case like this, I'd rather just overlaps existing construction. I don't know what construction is in the way. I guess maybe that power pole is bigger than I thought. Can I go corner to corner? Yeah, I can just go side to side like that. The problem with the chain link fence is it's a little hard to see from the top down view. You know? You get a little bit better view of it through like profile. This thing is wafer thin. It's a little too thin. Should have some bit to it. Okay, boom. Boom. You can do long sections at a time. You don't have to do like super short sections to get these curves. The fencing is a little bit more inclined to do some smooth curves. Expand in here and clean up the grass area. There we go. We get a fence. I'm going to look at other fences. That one is a little measly. It's not like a secure fence. It's just a low-lying fence. Not sure how I feel about that. We can also mix fence types. So, you know, we could maybe go more secure over here. Potentially. Just as something new. And then let's get some really long sections of fencing in these areas. Go. Can I get this? Yes. Just showing a little bit more freely. Cool. Oh, screwed that up. Ooh, you know what? I hear a train going over a bridge. It makes me happy that the audio of the train changes when it hits a bridge. Lovely. And I can't wait until we have a town down below, too. Let's get this curve. Alright, kind of curve this just over there. Yes! Curve there, that has a curve, curve. Great. Awesome, and it's all joined up. At least as much as I'm probably going to get here initially. And that fence is pretty invisible until you get down here. But at least it's something. A little bit of a detail for our ore industry. I don't like how wavy this is. I might have to try and straighten that up a little bit. But that might be done at a later time. So I hope you guys enjoyed episode 1 of Workers and Resources Soviet Republic. It's a really interesting game. A lot of depth to it. Huge learning curve though. So don't expect to come in and succeed on your first go around. It's most likely not going to happen. In fact, this still might not even succeed. With that, if you guys enjoyed the video, feel free to subscribe, hit that like button, become a member today, get notified when we go live, and we'll see you all in the next episode of this awesome series.